Hello my loves, Tony here from Teal Yarn Crafts and welcome back to my channel. Now this yarn snob has not added any new yarn to her stash lately, but maybe we can change that today. Today we're reviewing yarns from one of my favorite online shops, and that is We Crochet. Now We Crochet carries nearly every fiber, every color, and every base, all at surprisingly reasonable prices. And I appreciate that because I can experiment with a yarn that's completely new to me without totally breaking the bank. But are their latest yarns really worth adding to cart? Find out by hitting that subscribe button and stick around for this video. For each of the 6 yarns in today's review, I'll share my first impression, likes and dislikes, and round it out with my rating of 1 to 10 hooks. But before we get to all of that fiber goodness, we do have some bills to pay, and we're going to start with today's video sponsor, Book of the Month. I know, right? New sponsor, who dis? Book of the Month is a fun subscription service that delivers the freshest finds right to your doorstep. Each month you get to choose your favorite from a stack of different genres and debut authors. Your pick is then tucked into their iconic blue box for your reading pleasure. Now I typically reach for audiobooks because I'm crocheting and my hands are busy, but I've been really craving that immersive feeling you get from a physical book. Whether it's the smell of the pages or that beautiful cover art, I want it all. And you can have it all with Book of the Month and you don't even have to put on real pants. Honestly, the hardest part about participating in Book of the Month is just narrowing down your choice. All of the books for March 2023 look good, but I narrowed it down to 2 winners. My first pick is Rootless by Crystal Zara Appiah, and then I also picked Lone Women by Victor LaValle. That's 2 picks by Black authors that I've never even heard of before. Let's go! Book of the Month vets hundreds of amazing books every single month, and you're left with only the cream of the crop. Plus, you're gonna get the best price on new release hardbacks, hands down. To celebrate our new partnership, Book of the Month gave me a special code that I can share with you. You can use code CHEERS to get your first month's pick for just $9.99. Find a link down in my description to get in on this great deal. I want to give a huge thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, but a lot of love to you for watching, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you a million times. As always, we got to give some love to our Cup of Caffeine sponsor. It's just water for me today. I've actually cut down my coffee to only 3 times a week. I'll let you know how it goes. So today's Cup of Caffeine sponsor is Miss Carrie, and when donating, Carrie said, "Hi, I'm a medical mom of twins born under 2 pounds. Your videos have kindled a real passion for crochet and have helped me earn money since I quit to take care of my girls. Your voice soothes my always frazzled nerves and you inspire me to be creative. Thank you." Thank you so much, Carrie. I love being able to do this, but I love more hearing about how you incorporate Teal Yarn Crafts into your life. I'm grateful that I can be a sense of calm and peace. I definitely have those YouTubers that make me feel that way as well. So happy stitching, my dear, and thank you for the donation. Now, if you're watching this and want to support my channel, buy me a coffee. Who knows, I might shout you out my next video. Now let's talk new yarns. First up is Upcycle Alpaca. This yarn comes in 2 weights, worsted and sport, and I chose sport for this review. The 100-gram ball comes with 273 yards of yarn made up of nearly equal parts alpaca, wool, and acrylic. Whatever you make from this yarn will need to be hand washed and dried flat, so just keep that in mind. The strand is made up of 2 fluffy plies that are twisted together, and Upcycle Alpaca Sport comes in 24 earthy and neutral colors, with the whole shebang costing you $9.99 per skein at full price. I was fully prepared to be underwhelmed by this yarn. At first glance, it's pretty unassuming in the skein. The colors are very muted, resting on the border of looking washed out due to that low contrast between them. But my whole mind changed the moment I touched Upcycle Alpaca. It's satisfyingly squishy from the wool, very soft and smooth due to the alpaca, and pretty reasonably priced, likely from that acrylic element. Upcycle Alpaca's claim to fame is that it rescues fibers that would otherwise become waste yarn when it's made at mills. Sustainability in yarn production is a major issue, so I'm grateful to see We Crochet making the effort. It also helps that this yarn is kind of irresistible to work with. My initial stitches were a little tricky, which always happens with those lighter weight yarns, but once I got going, it was smooth sailing. The grip of this yarn worked well with my metal hook, and I was able to crochet relatively fast. My tension stayed consistent throughout, and I didn't need to do all of that adjusting that sometimes comes with trying out a new yarn. After spending some time with this yarn, I totally get the appeal. The swatch that I worked on reminded me of the popular Nordic, Scandi, fall fashion trend that comes around every year. Colorwork yoke sweaters and handmade closet staples would look fantastic in this yarn. You'll be able to achieve those billowy silhouettes and build a capsule wardrobe with a few standout pieces by using some of the more colorful options from the collection. Incorporating both the sport weight and the worsted weight yarns in creating those staples will add versatility to your options. Now, I'm surprising even myself by giving Upcycle Alpaca 9 out of 10 hooks. There's so much to love about this yarn. It's soft to the touch. I can tell that it'll block well with superb drape, and it'll be worn because of that scrumptious wool and alpaca. I did knock off one point because a yarn this nice needs more colors. I get We Crochet creating a mood with this color palette, but it's screaming for a few brighter shades. There's not even a bright cream color, and that's low-key criminal. Now, you might be balking at that $9.99 price tag, but let me tell you something, honey. $10 for this much alpaca and wool is a steal in a skein. You'll have to throw out your expectations and experience Upcycle Alpaca yourself to truly understand how nice it is. Now, if you want to give Upcycle Alpaca a go, consider making my Bronwyn shawl. You can find the free pattern with tutorial video linked down below. Next up, let's take a look at Millhouse Super Bulky, a We Crochet exclusive. This chunky boy is a category 6 super bulky weight, 100% acrylic yarn that is begging to take center stage in your yarn stash. Each 170 gram skein has 90 yards of the most lush color you've seen in a while. At just $4.99, you get your pick from the newly expanded line of 24 colors with everything from primary colors to brights with a healthy set of neutral options as well. Now, touching this yarn for the first time gave me Lion Brand Hometown USA vibes, but elevated. Both brands have great colors and decent prices, but Millhouse Super Bulky delivers on the quality and the feel. While Hometown USA can have a stringy or slippery feel, Millhouse is more substantial, giving you the characteristics of wool while still being wool-free. In that way, it's kind of like having the best of Hometown and Woolies Thick and Quick in the same yarn. I started my swatch using this gorgeous hand-turned wood hook from the queen of cozy herself, Miss Knitbrooks. Alas, the tension wasn't quite right. The acrylic is very grippy, and so was this hook, so it made for some very tight stitches and no slip. Adjusting to accommodate your tension is key, whether you're just testing a yarn or you're diving into an actual project. Now, in addition to changing how you hold the yarn, switching the hook for a different material can make all the difference. I went to find my trusty Furls metal hook, and I was off to the races. I will say though, the yarn label doesn't recommend a hook size, but the website does say that a 10mm is a good place to start. Millhouse Super Chunky is very pleasant to work with. Swatching this yarn took me right back to my craft show days. Back when I had to crank out a dozen hats after working an 8-hour shift, I needed a yarn that was reliable and let me be my speedy stitching self. I wish I could have had a yarn like this that balanced great color with a light sheen while still offering impeccable warmth. And can we talk about the price? Just $4.99 for this giant skein? I did some research for comparable yarns that could beat this price, and I came up empty, y'all. Millhouse gives you a big bang for your buck, especially if you buy in bulk during a sale. Ooh, I'm surprised I was able to get that out. Okay. I am giving Millhouse Super Bulky 8 happy little hooks out of 10. Now, I am a texture snob, so I still experience that plasticiness that comes with the acrylic yarn, so I had to take a couple points off. Though there was no squeaking while I was crocheting, the final fabric still has that telltale acrylic texture that I just cannot get behind. Now, if you're looking for a small project to try out Millhouse Super Bulky, check out my Kensington tote bag found inside my book, The Tunisian Crochet Handbook. 2 skeins of your main color and 1 skein of your accent should do it. Let's check out one of the newest additions to the Brava family, Meet Tweed. Brava Tweed is a worsted weight acrylic yarn blended with little black, brown, and tan viscose flecks. 1 skein gives you 218 yards, giving this worsted weight yarn a lighter feel. At $4.99 per skein, you can pick from just 6 colors. The full palette includes a blue, a yellow, a pink, a brown, a gray, and a cream. Each strand is made of 4 individual plies, giving this yarn some much needed bounce. It's machine washable and dryable, making this easy care yarn suitable for everything from baby items to accessories, home decor, and wearables. Every time I touch Brava, I'm reminded why they keep expanding this line of yarn. It started with worsted, then they added sport and bulky, expanded into Brava 500, which is a giant giant skein, kind of like Pound of Love, and more recently offshoots like Brava Stripe, Mini Packs, Speckle, and now Brava Tweed have come along. Brava is clearly a fan favorite, and I can see why. This is acrylic at its finest. An easy care workhorse yarn that's dependable and affordable. The tweed adds a dimension of charm on top of that great yarn, easily elevating otherwise simple projects. Brava Tweed is soft to the touch as acrylics go. I was pleased to see an even distribution of the tweed flex, and the three colors play well together. They're neutral enough to match each of the colors in this small palette. The balanced allotment of tweed lets the base colors shine through while adding an air of sophistication. Now, once this yarn was on my hook, I really fell in love. It was pure pleasure to Tunisian crochet with Brava Tweed. It flowed effortlessly over my hook, and the tweed didn't interrupt my stitching at all. The only downside I could find with this yarn is the very limited color palette. Not only are there only 6 colors, but 2 of the neutrals are actually currently sold out. Now, while Brava Tweed is a stellar yarn, there are a lot of alternatives out there with better color selections and more tweed options. All that is to say, Brava Tweed is a lovely yarn, but not quite unique enough to wait months to restock if I could find something just as good literally anywhere else. So I'm gonna give Brava Tweed 9 very generous hooks out of 10. It looks great and performs even better, the price is right, and if they expand their color palette, it's basically a perfect yarn. Now, I don't think you could go wrong crocheting anything with this yarn. Double it up for chunkier projects, and don't forget about those wearables. I've got a feeling chucking a finished project in the wash will just make it softer over time. To inspire you for your first or next Brava Tweed project, check out my sweater weather cardie. The ultimate duster cardigan, it's gonna look amazing in any color from the palette, and you can find the free pattern on my blog. Hey loves, I hope you're enjoying today's video, but I wanted to take a brief break to tell you about some fun events I have coming up. The first of which being a virtual workshop I'm doing with my friends at Floxy entitled Color Theory for Yarn Lovers. Have you ever had issue pulling together color palettes for your knit or crochet projects? If so, then this workshop is for you. Even the simplest project can come to life when you have the right colors. So in this workshop, I'm going to teach you the basics of color theory, but also give you an understanding of your personal color story so you can build palettes with confidence. This virtual workshop is going down Saturday, March 18th from 12 to 2 Eastern Time, but it will be recorded, so if you can't join us live, you can always watch the replay. Registration is open and there's a link down in the description. The very next day, I'm joining my friends at Longmont Yarn Shop for another virtual workshop. This one is everything you need to know before you start your first temperature blanket. Temperature blankets are something I've been talking about for years, but I know there are folks who are still new to the concept. I'm distilling down 5 years of design knowledge to share with you the basics you need to know to start your temperature blanket with confidence. This workshop happens Sunday, March 19th from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, but again, it will be recorded, and if you can't join us live, you can watch the replay. That registration is open as well, and you can find that link down in the description. Now let's get back to the yarn. Meet Elixir, an enigma of a yarn that left me scratching my head. Now these cute little 50-gram cakes hold 164 yards of fingering weight yarn made up of 45% superfine alpaca, 35% merino wool, and 20% linen. At $8.99 per skein, you can pick from 6 fun cocktail-themed colors like tonic, grenadine, and hibiscus. Now from far away, this yarn is dripping in class with that vibrant alpaca wool base threaded with a sultry black strand of linen. But up close, it's a very different story, and let me tell you all about it. Long story short, it's the linen that ruins it for me. In the skein, it looks beautiful. The subtle black notes give that melange effect, which is one of my favorite yarn features. But the linen doesn't exactly stay in the skein. It sticks out at odd angles, drawing my eye away from what could be a very nice yarn. The biggest concern here is potential shedding or skin irritation from those errant fibers. But crocheting with Elixir wasn't all that bad. The yarn does feed smoothly over my fingers, and my hook catches it perfectly. The feel of the yarn while stitching is soft, though a bit toothsome from those stiff linen strands. While stitching, it was very easy to see my stitches, but like a terrible magic trick, all of the texture gets lost when you try looking at the fabric as a whole. Upon closer inspection, the yarn itself has this heathered look to it, then the black linen adds the melange. Add in my alpine stitch and you've got a mess of just too much stuff going on. The whole look is just muddy and messy, negating the potential of some beautiful stitching. I really only see 2 ways to make this yarn work as a crocheter. One option is to keep the stitching very simple so the yarn holds the spotlight. Something like half double crochet, linen stitch, or some some basic ribbing might do the trick. Now the second option would be to go full lace. Let the yarn play the background and keep that lace stitching at the forefront. Block the living snot out of it to open up the stitches and capitalize on the contrast of negative space. Look, my mama said if you don't have anything nice to say, keep your mouth shut, so I'm gonna keep it brief. Elixir is getting my first ever one hook review. As a crocheter, this yarn was just not it. The color palette leaves me wanting, the fiber looks like it has tentacles, and the finished fabric isn't worth the hassle. I can admit when a yarn might be better suited for knitting, and I'd put Elixir in that category. Honestly, Elixir had me reaching for a real cocktail to erase that struggle swatch from my memory. Oh my god. After Elixir, Heatherly Worsted turned out to be the palette cleanser I desperately needed. Now this cheerful 100-gram skein holds 218 yards of lofty category 4 worsted weight yarn made from 80% acrylic and 20% merino wool. At just $5.99 per hank, you can choose from a lovely expanded line of 20 spring-ready colors. The strand is made of 4 plies of sunny color blended with white, creating this heathered effect. According to the website, the yarn is machine washable and dryable, but there's a bit more to that story which we'll get to later. The Heatherly collection is relatively new, with the original yarn hitting virtual shelves nearly a year ago and the new colors coming a few months later. But I hadn't heard much chatter about Heatherly, which is a bit of a shame. It's a yarn that under-promises and over-delivers. As of today, there's only one review on We Crochet's website about it, but it's glowing and completely accurate to my experience as well. Back in May, Sandy R wrote, "I love Heatherly. I usually lean toward natural fibers for my personal crochet, but this is a fabric I would wear. If you had handed me the swatch without any information, I would have guessed it's a blend of cotton and wool. It does not have any of the plastic shine you often see with acrylics, and the subtle variation of color gives it a much more sophisticated look than most yarns marketed as appropriate for children. I think you've got a real winner here." Heatherly is the kind of yarn that puts you in a good mood at first sight. The color palette screams spring, with its vibrant pastel subtly muted by the light heathering. Much like tweed or melange, adding a heather to the yarn takes it to that next level. It instantly becomes more versatile, especially with the addition of several lovely neutral shades. To play even deeper into the elevated yarn perception, Heatherly comes in a twisted hank instead of a bullet skein like you'd expect for baby yarn. Balling up a hank of yarn is one of those practices that I look forward to. It's almost meditative, cranking the winder and watching the Swift spin. I use Heatherly to demonstrate how to use a yarn ball in Swift in a previous video, and it's nice to revisit such a lovely yarn. Not only is this yarn nice to squish and look at, but it's a winner to crochet with as well. It doesn't stick to itself, instead gliding smoothly from the cake and onto my hook. I used my metal Sorella hooks with this yarn, and the slip of the hook with the yarn was like a perfect harmony. I was able to keep my tension throughout the swatch, and the resulting honeycomb stitch turned out lovely. I could clearly go on and on about Heatherly Worsted. It really is a great yarn, and it deserves this 9 out of 10 rating. The only downside are the care instructions. The website says that this yarn is machine washable and dryable, and as baby yarns go, that makes a lot of sense. Easy care truly is best. But when the yarn arrived, the label said hand wash and dry flat. There's clearly a discrepancy there, but with such a high acrylic content, I feel like this would fare pretty well in the machine. I'd recommend laundering a small swatch of Heatherly to see how it reacts before committing to a full project. As soon as I saw this yarn, I knew it would make a stunning Daphne Afghan. I'd make mine huge, like 50 inches by 50 inches, so I could use as many of Heatherly's delightful colors as possible. Let's bring this review on home with one last yarn. Give a warm welcome to Alla Prima. This is one eye-catching yarn, bold and big in every way. The voluminous category 6 bulky weight yarn comes in 170-gram twisted hanks with 52 yards each. The hand-painted hanks are $15.99 each and come in 11 unique colorways. I'm sure it comes at no surprise, but the single-ply 100% merino wool will need to be hand-washed to keep it looking gorgeous. I'm always excited to see unique, bold yarns like this. Alla Prima is the kind of yarn that would draw you like a magnet if you saw it hanging in the store. Not only is it visually stunning, but it feels like pure luxury. Compared to something like We Are Knitters The Wool, which is a chunky, roving 100% wool, Alla Prima doesn't sacrifice texture for scale. The merino wool base is lofty, bouncy, and buttery smooth to the touch, and crocheting with it it's even better. I've said it before and I'll say it again, merino wool is hands down my favorite fiber, and Alla Prima is reminding me why. It's so versatile and always gives a satisfying crochet experience. The yarn feels even better than it looks, if you can believe that. It's not itchy like other wool yarns, and the strand is smooth and fluffy with a very subtle twist, keeping all of those fibers in their perfect place. And the cherry on top has to be the hand-painted colorways. Now I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit skeptical after seeing them on the website, but in person you can really take in what looks like hand-painted strokes of color on the yarn strands themselves. Still, the random assortment of color on the cream base gave me pause, but there's something almost magical about how a yarn transforms from the hank to the cake and finally into stitches. This yarn deserves its flowers for being audacious yet cheeky and wholly unapologetic. We're living in an era of big, bold handmade clothing, and this yarn plays right into that trend. Is it practical? Certainly not. Will it look like a furry mess after enough wear? Most likely yes, but will you look fabulous on the rare occasion that you wear anything made with Alla Prima? 100% yes. I'm proud to give Alla Prima 7 out of 10 hooks. It's a wonderful yarn in the moment, but I am a practical maker at heart, and I just can't fully get behind a yarn that I know won't hold up well over time. The slight twist in the yarn will help some, but it's still a single ply super bulky weight yarn. Merino wool will felt and pill and get all fuzzy, so bask in its glow for as long as you can. If you want to experiment with how well Alla Prima actually wears, try making my toasted marshmallow infinity scarf. This beginner-friendly circle scarf is a great way to show off all of that gorgeous color while you're braving the cold. When it comes to the yarns we checked out today, we had a lot of big hits and only one miss. And that's one of the things that I love about We Crochet. They have such a massive selection that you're bound to find something that you're totally in love with. I also love checking their website for an affordable dupe for other popular yarns. Yarn Snob reviews are really a highlight of the things that I do here on YouTube, and this collection of yarns really inspired me. I've included links down below so you can try out all of these yarns, but I would encourage you to take your time when browsing through We Crochet's website and see what really sparks your own creativity. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, then drop down in the comments and let me know which of these yarns were your favorites and your least favorites. That's all for now, my loves. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.